Yeah. So yeah, all over Utah. There are quite a few
Oh my
main
God.
cities. So Google Fiber is in Provo, and is now geared up to be in Salt Lake this quarter or next fiscal quarter. And so yeah, it's amazing what kind of bandwidth is available here.
Well, like, so there's this thing I'd like to build. I'm curious if you think that it might fly in your area, because if you do, it's not actually terribly hard to build. In fact, it's more about sourcing the components than actually building anything.
Hmm.
Neighborhood fiber kits. And I guess basically you sound like you might have the knowledge to get into this 10 gigabit statewide affair.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The tricky part is still cost. I've talked
Oh
to a
yeah.
couple of the kind of the independent ISPs that basically just run on top of the fiber network. The name of
Mm-hmm.
the network, you can look it up, as Utopia.
You
Um,
really UT? Okay.
yeah, yeah, it stands for Utah Optical something or whatever. Yeah,
Nice.
and so I've actually spoken with Utopia, that's just the caretaker of the fiber network, and to be our own ISP, so there would be no third party. We'd have direct connection. It could be up to 100 gigabyte per second actually. Um,
Woo.
it's like $5,000 application to get things started, and then I think it's 1,200 a month just to have um, to basically be the ISP, and
Well,
then you
that's
get to buy.
actually cheap.
Yeah, so when you're buying bandwidth on top of that, it wholesale price, it's just even a fraction. So,
Oh my
but you can get a
gosh.
gig depending on what city you're in for about $60 a month, 1 gig per second connections.
Wow.
So a device that, whether it's a mesh network or any kind of thing that you can go door to door and just start handing out, hey, we'll pay your internet connection. Here's a farmer slash whatever else you want it to do. I know Brady
Oh,
was
okay.
talking
So you can
about
use MaidSafe to actually monetize it. I see where you're going with this,
exactly. Yeah. So then you
and
could attach
create free
whatever,
connectivity.
yeah, whatever device, because I know Brady with Sessions has a bunch of hardware ideas for musicians and artists and stuff to connect. And so, yeah, you just tag on some way to monetize bandwidth, which I think is going to be the bottleneck for the Safe Network, and it'll be the most valuable resource.
I think it. Oh my God. Same thought.
Yep.
Same exact thought. Because we're kind of setting up this cloud thing. And one of the things that we have been trying to enable is basically getting on to Google and Amazon with safe nodes that are extra cheap. Have you used cloud services much?
Yeah. Uh-huh. I have.
Oh, okay. So you know about spot and preemptible instances.
What was that again?
On AWS, they're called spot instances, and on
Yep.
GCE, they're called preemptible instances. They're the ones that AWS kind of runs a constant auction for the spot instances,
Hmm.
but they can be interrupted if somebody else bids higher than you for that compute time.
Hmm.
And Google's preemptible instances can be interrupted if their compute pool fills too much.
Hmm. Yeah. So kind of with the instances, are you talking about the software part of it? And just having an instance where someone could just install and have everything. I'm, I guess
Actually,
I'm
we're talking
thinking
about
about what do you plan
creating.
on doing with it?
All right. Well, once we've built our cloud, which is hybridized, right? We have actual facilities and actual equipment, and then we'll have, basically, I'd like to be able to overflow it into Google and AWS if the economics work out right. Because just like you said, I do think that bandwidth is going to be the scarce resource.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're on the forums much. I made a
I
post
am.
recently.
I kind of, it's cyclical. The last 3 weeks have been really tough for me and being online much. But
Gotcha.
up until about 3 weeks ago, yeah, I was on a daily basis. But
I haven't
I
been on it a few days.
for this up next week though, I'll meet up with you and we'll start sharing information. It sounds like be another great partnership for sure.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to find. I made a post on what I think about the resources of the network going into things. What
That'd be
I think
great.
might be
We'll sit
scarce.
down and kind of, yeah, to study it. And so my handle online at the forum is Mr. Anderson.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I recognize that one. That's for sure. I'm Fadat, F-A-D-D-A-T.
Oh, okay. All right. And I guess one website that I've just started kind of throwing up to lay out my thought process is you
Mm-hmm.
can just go to um, SafeCryptDrive
Safe Crypt Drive. All right.
dot io, I believe. It's been a couple of days
Uh,
since I've worked on
uh, could it be a .com? I didn't get it at the
it. Could be
IO.
.com. Yeah, SafeCryptDrive.com or .io, I can't remember.
All right. It looks like something is loading
Or I
at
can just
.com. Yep. Okay. Got to check back soon at the .com. Now, do you want the
Yep.
Safe Crypt Drive to be a physical thing?
So the open source software program will um, be able to be used, basically use any kind of memory source.
Ah,
Um,
okay. Gotcha. So it's a software thing generally.
but yeah, that can be used with any storage device. So um, been speaking with,
Um,
I thought I saw David jump on here, but we've kind of thrown around different mediums of storage, and we really like where flash drives are going as far as speed
oh
and
yeah.
portability. I mean, you can get soon we should be able to hopefully get terabyte flash drives fairly
I
at a
think there
fairly
is one, and I think that yeah, I imagine even the price is going to come down on those. Right now, I think it's a
so
little obscenely expensive, but
yep. So plan on monetizing it through the sale of the hardware itself, but hopefully the open
oh,
source
you
software
are oh,
program
wow.
will have a much larger reach.
That's actually like so. That's kind of a business model that I've been pursuing for a while now,
Huh.
which is open source software monetized by open source hardware.
Yep.
Reason being, manufacturing this stuff is still quite complex. So even if it's open source, you know, that manufacturing step is crucial.
Yep. So the
Um,
software is just kind of to increase reach into different communities and places in the world, and but then having the best hardware solution for people to quickly adapt and use the technology for their benefit. Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
let's see, I like where I'm trying to go with hardware specifically is modular hardware and make it cheap.
What hardware, sorry?
Where I'm trying to go with hardware is modules, and I'm trying to make it cheap. Cheap. Um, and this is the closest thing I have to something I designed having been made real. And unfortunately, My design did not include this. Okay, so all the connectors and stuff wouldn't have actually been on it, but you know, folks kind of.
Right.
Hey Jacob, I was wondering how much did it cost per unit for a 2 GB version of that $15 board that you were showing?
All right, I gotta tell you that I think it's a guess. All right, or that I know it's a guess, but probably. Are we talking 1,000 units or more?
Let's say just the minimum.
If we were okay, 1,000 units is probably the minimum for getting 2 gigs, and
So let's call it 1,000.
probably $25. But it depends on a whole bunch of factors. So like the fewer ports, like all right, this board is selling right now for a retail 129, and I think gets produced for around $40 per board. But like it's a lot more complex manufacturing than the $15 one. This has more layers in the PCB, and all these ports they're mounted like halfway through the board, and it's just a more expensive way of doing things. So,
But it looks a little thinner, I guess, right? So then what about the one you showed that was like very cost effective, like 15
oh
bucks?
yeah, totally.
You have that one
Yeah.
there?
Yep, of course. Just a sec. The cheap one, which I mean, like,
And you could have that kind of design, but with more RAM in it, right?
oh yeah, I could do that. Like
I
that's
have a feeling that 2 gigs would be essential to run because like the Odroids have 2 gigs of RAM, you know?
okay. How about what if it were 4? I was curious.
That would be even better, I guess, right?
Okay, and like 4 would, well, normally that would be even better. I just don't know about the economics of your application. We're talking specifically for farming.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And I mean, like, I assume that you, like me, don't really have any idea what the economics of that are going to work out to be, or have you built it and run sort of a micro test
No,
net?
exactly.
I
No,
was curious.
not related to SafeCoin. There's not much information. There's just
Yeah.
only what was presented at the crowd sale. So besides that, there's no real info. It's like reading like archival text, from.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, and that makes sense. I mean, until they've tested out the network some, what can they do really?
Yeah. So one thing that I found, interesting was, remember when Pine they had that $15 board?
Yes.
So like that was just only interesting because it was but there was a catch, like you wanted to get the 2 GB version, and then
it doubles the price.
exactly, but that makes it now like useful, I think, because I remember reading on the forum that 2 gigs of RAM will be like the minimum to run a node or something like that. I recall that.
Yeah.
So the problem with the Pine offering was that they actually didn't discover how to do Linux on it. They only had Android. So that made it like, you didn't want to get any more of them, because if they never figured out how to get Linux on them, then it would be tough. There's no builds for Android.
It would be kind of a brick, yeah. In fact, the $15 board I have here,
yeah.
Okay, it is not a Pine, but
No,
it is kind
yeah.
of a brick at the moment. Okay, but I just read on some forums that there is a build available for the chipset, and so I'm working on building the build.
Yeah. And I think if you have a $26 2 GB of RAM board and like a $50 4 GB of RAM board or something like that, I don't know, you figure it out. But I'm just saying, like, Pine was $29 for a 2 gig RAM board,
Mm-hmm.
and like so it's something to consider, I think.
Yeah.
And I think we're compiling, Travis, I think, and David Yamanaka, that, like, everybody's got some hardware and they have the specs on it, happy being from there. So, like, I don't know, something would be interesting is to have, like, a sample of those. That would be cool, for sure. To get, like, is it possible to order,
if we can
like a few of
organize,
them
not really.
at
And
all?
you know, I gotta be frank with you. Like, for me personally, even ordering 1,000, I'm likely to make nothing. And that's okay with me. I don't actually have a problem with it because, you know, I'm an enthusiast in the tech, right?
Well,
And
if you get the order,
ordering 1,000 has its own utility, okay?
well,
Because I can then go and create derivative products from it, and so that's cool as hell. And it gets me into that.
you could farm with them. You can buy in on the order as well. You can get your own, carve out your own piece of that purchase and
Oh,
farm on
sure,
those
sure, but
machines.
that's not actually. I mean, the farming, I kind of have a larger scale plan in mind, but like what I mean is, I'm really glad to help with it,
Oh yeah.
and I'll
Yeah,
contact a few vendors in Shenzhen. Can any like, if you guys just fill me up with information on hardware you're interested in, I can place the inquiries and get right back, no problem.
That's cool.
Yeah, that sounds great. Definitely been pursuing lots of different options, and I want to consider all things. Because I think farmers will play an important role with a lot of what we're doing.
Oh yeah, certainly. It's essential.
But
I've been betting
obviously,
on the bandwidth.
so
Yeah.
obviously before buying 1,000, we should be able to get a few or one, right?
No.
No?
No. I can send you one of the existing 1 GB version, but no. Just not the
Does
way the
that
business works.
does that board have a USB 3.0 port?
It's got 2.0. The ones at this price range, just two. At let me see, what's the cheapest with a 3.0? Probably something with the Marvell 905, and let me just check. I want to double check to make sure that that does have USB 3.
I like your thinking, David.
Was that?
I like your thinking. I totally forgot about the USB 3.
Yeah, the 2.0 transfer rate's too slow. Like,
Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't be able to get a lot of storage on this, and actually, even the network port is 100 megabits, which, if that were just for being connected to the internet, it's enough. But if you were using NAS, 100 megabits is not enough.
right?
So, yeah, it could be better to go more expensive. I think you're looking at least $50 at that point.
Well,
And so I want to let you guys know, I'm giving you the prices, like the price I'm quoting is the price I'd pay, because what I do, I would benefit from this deal in other ways. What I'd do is I would use the relationship with the Chinese vendor to then go and create a second product which is smaller and modular, because I'm chasing modular compute real hard. So. I don't know if anybody else here, like if you've thought of making your own derivative products or what have you, but what I try and do is get you the price that's as close to, direct out of the factory as possible.
I just pasted a link for the Odroid XU4. That's the closest one that has a USB 3.0 port, and it's
yeah,
running at
okay.
87. It's $87 on Amazon.
Okay. Have you seen Odroid's new one with the 905 CPU, or does that not have a USB 3. Let me see if I can find it. I just read about it today. It might not be on Amazon. Let's see.
Well, the interesting thing is, while you're looking at that, is when I was running
Yeah.
tests on mine, my own
Mhm.
system has 12 gigabytes of RAM. Apparently, back then when I bought the system, when I built it, I just had this crazy idea I needed a exceptional amount of RAM, and I never realized that it would actually come to that point where I might actually be using it. And here we are.
You bought some RAM module or what?
No, I just selected the components, but I went with because the average RAM was about 8 gigs,
With
and for
Odroid?
some reason no, not the Odroid. This is a
Oh,
tower. This is my
oh, okay.
tower that I'm
Yeah,
using
yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
Okay, now it makes
And I
sense.
just had this idea. I'm like, well, I want the most amount of RAM, and this was on sale, so I went ahead and got the 12 gigabytes. So I have like
Gotcha.
on my tower system alone. I have 6 times more RAM than the Odroid that comes with it. And I tried to look up if you could expand the RAM in the Odroid, and they said you couldn't. You couldn't
Oh
increase
yeah,
the
yeah,
But
RAM.
you
why
definitely
didn't
can.
you get 18? You could, I mean 16. You could have
That
gotten.
was a couple years ago
Oh,
when
I
I
see.
was
Oh,
so
it's
12
probably just
was a
money then.
lot back, a couple years ago. Not today. I didn't buy the tower like
I got a
this
tower
year.
with 16 right now. In
How old
like
is that?
1 year.
Yeah, see, mine's like 3 years old.
I see.
Huh.
Hmm.
But it's
I'm buying a workstation next week with 64. So
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, the thing was, I tried to fill up how much RAM that each Vault application runs, and
Do
I
you
ran.
have?
This is the
Do you
old
guys have
Vault,
graphics
the
cards
old
on
one.
those towers?
Was that?
You have graphics cards, Jacob? Do
No,
you?
Uh,
no.
Oh no.
oh, on these?
No,
No,
on
no,
the
no.
tower you're gonna get the workstation. Are you gonna get
Oh God,
a
yeah.
graphics card?
It'll have
Two?
two 970s.
Two 970s? How
Yeah.
much gigahertz are they?
I have no idea actually.
Oh,
They're just NVIDIA
I,
970s. I have
I
a
I don't
960
remember
now.
the name of the card I had, but it had 3 gigahertz of graphics card, and
Uh-huh.
I ran it for 3 weeks nonstop, and it mined 20 Ethereum coins.
Nice. I guess. Is that good?
You know, it's pretty cool. At the time of mining them, it wasn't cost effective. It cost more to run the machine. But then
Yeah.
as the price went up, it made it worth it to have run that machine nonstop to collect the Ethereum coins. You see what I mean?
Yeah, they're doing well. They're doing pretty well now, aren't they?
When I mined them, they were worth $1, and then they went up to $2.50. So
Nice.
that increase in value made it worthwhile to have ran my computer for those 3 weeks to get the best out of the electricity.
Yeah, it's the whole mining scene is very interesting. Only thing I don't like about it is all that compute goes
Yeah,
to nowhere.
so that was with a 3 gigahertz graphics card. So if you have, like a really epic one, like a more powerful one, or even two, like you said, then you can probably compete in mining of Ethereum coins and win blocks. I was solo mining. I didn't even use a pool. I just won out of everybody else. I won the block. You see what I mean?
Huh.
So that's pretty
Yeah.
epic. With just one little graphics card, 3 gigahertz.
I don't
Yeah, it's
know.
pretty. Fun.
My computer's always working on work, so
You need
like
the graphics card. You need the specific one. I think you need some
oh
kind
yeah,
of
yeah. No,
like
what I
they
mean
have a
is like
list.
I'm
I think mine
always
had an AMD chipset or something like that, so it was relevant. That's a great thing about the safe network.
uh,
It's gonna need like a whole dynamic of all those things, you know. And I guess
I think
if we
Safe won't require GPU, but does
yeah, but
anybody
we
actually
could use
know?
GPUs to deal with hashes and stuff because we need a good scheduler. So I was thinking like a Jetson TK1, which is a graphics card as a processor,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
has RAM. It has 2 gigs of RAM, right? Two
Yeah,
gigabytes of
yeah,
RAM.
yeah, I know the one.
Yeah, so that one, and it has a SATA connection. So it makes it very interesting because it can deal with hashes easily, and make a scheduler from a GPU would be far more efficient than a CPU scheduler. I think so anyway, because you're dealing with hashes. So for that purpose, it would be more efficient. So you don't even necessarily need so much CPU power in a. If you have a GPU, you can, program your interface to the safe network by dealing with the hashes with your GPU. You can then serve them from your hard drive faster than everybody else, perhaps.
Well, so I can tell you a little bit about it. Like, it requires some specialized coding.
Right. Yeah, on a hardware-centric coding.
Right. Well, you have to optimize for the specific GPU. So you're talking, you have to, if it's an AMD product, you have to optimize for the AMD GPU, and if it's an Intel product,
It's
you have
an
to
interesting
optimize.
it's an interesting thing to do. I mean, someone's going to wind up doing that, seeing the economic benefit of being the first in line with the chunks.
It's
Get the safe.
possible.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. See,
Mhm.
if SafeCoin becomes such an orgy, right, where people are just jumping in and then the effect of made safe is going to be really something incredible. Honestly,
Yeah,
if
that's
SafeCoin
the ANTS
becomes,
meetup. Thanks.
was
Right.
that?
I said that's the ANTS meetup, right, guys? Like that's why we're meeting up. We got that. So
Is this the Ants meetup? Or?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is everything going over your head, Tim?
No, this is fantastic, man. I'm just learning on every. This is fantastic, man. This is just the. How is everyone anyway? Danny, I've got to say while I can catch you while you're here, congratulations on the distribution of your SafeX coins, my
Oh
friend.
yeah, definitely. Thanks. Yeah, and mostly congratulations to everybody else who bought in. Hopefully, we'll get on the exchange listed and like what I started doing as of like February 4th. I'm connecting to Poloniex and Bittrex exchange and building something so people can have an automatic trading robot. So
What
like
is a SafeX coin?
SafeX coin,
Yeah.
it's a token that you own or you're a member of the decentralized board of trade, and the decentralized board of trade
Okay.
has the right to vote and discuss decisions pertinent to the Safe Exchange and its software, including the distribution of the dividend in the form of an app developer coin.
What is the Safe Exchange?
Safe Exchange is a anonymously secured decentralized contract marketplace.
Are you working on that?
Yes, I am.
Cool.
So if you have an Omni wallet, I can send you some SEC.
Huh. Sure.
So on that
I don't
vein,
have an Omni
before I
wallet at
forget,
the moment.
I've got people
Um,
that are wanting to buy quite a bit from me already, more than I'm probably comfortable in trading. And so it will be good to see those go on some trading exchanges
The
for sure.
Odroid XU4 has USB 3.
Yes.
yeah, the 4 does, but
Yeah.
the 3 doesn't. There's
Yeah, exactly. So don't buy the 3, only buy the 4.
Well, so yeah. But what I mean, I think the challenge that you guys are presenting me with is how cheaply can I find for you a 2 or 4 gigabyte board with a quad core CPU and USB 3 or 3.1.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Because with
perfect.
the USB 3, you could connect the laptop hard drives to the Odroid with a cable that goes from USB 3 to the. I have a few of them, just like ready to go to plug into Odroids. So like, the less we spend on the Odroid part, the better it is for, because we get that great hardware, that's really efficient and doesn't cost too much. So
Oh
maybe
yeah,
we have.
ARM beats Intel every time. That's
Yeah,
that's
but
just a fact.
it's like I just don't see how to like how would we all be able to fund a something for like $30,000 for 1,000 pieces without even any of us seeing one of them beforehand. So like,
Hey,
yeah.
welcome to making hardware. 1,000 pieces is the absolute minimum. 10,000 is more the norm.
The risk of spending 30,000 on just unknowns and then the
Oh,
versus
you don't spend it on an unknown.
yeah.
Typically what you do is you get to know the vendor some, and then you can look at their prior work. But the thing is, if we're talking about something totally new, for example, a 2 gigabyte one of these, right? I go out and I try to get a 2 gigabyte one of these.
Like check it out. The Pine one, if they actually get Linux going on it, Pine was reviewed. Like the only reason why I bought a Pine was because when I was in San Francisco, on one day, the guy who marketed the Pine had one right there. So I saw it. He's
Oh,
like, check it out. We're about to launch a Kickstarter for the $15 Pine. And I'm
Oh,
like,
hell yeah, I would
okay,
have
that's
bought
cool.
one.
So like I had it in my hands, like I saw it, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it was easy for me to make that decision. You see what I mean?
Of course, of
But
course.
but like not seeing it, not getting at least one. You see what I'm saying? Like there was at least one.
No, you're talking impossible still. Check it out.
But how come it's impossible? Like it just
It's
happens over
impossible
there.
because
So it can't be impossible because it happens.
No. That was already in production, and that's why you were able to hold it in your hand.
Oh,
Okay, they had already put down the big money at the point when they put it in your hand. The vendor or the manufacturer needs to make a fairly substantial investment in any new product. Okay, they need to redesign the board, and so
can we
again,
pay a lot extra for one?
a lot.
Yeah. So
You're
what? Is
talking
it like $100 for one?
5,000.
Let me,
No.
hey guys, let me chime in here because I think there's a confusion going on, and I'll clear it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
when a manufacturer decides, I'll put it in a sense of an assembly car line, okay, to build cars.
Mm-hmm.
They set up the whole assembly line to
Thank
build a
you.
specific type of car that would, this it's got this wheels, this paint job, this, and just to change one little thing in that assembly line is very difficult because that's the way in manufacturing. Because I understand how that works. And just like the chipset, when they do a chipset, it's one assembly line, and they do everything very specific to, because it repeats it. That's how they mass produce it. Everything does the same thing. And so that's why Jacob is saying you need to order 1,000 units because that makes it worth it for them to change their assembly line for that specific type of chipset that you want, with the USB 3.0 and the 4 gigabyte RAM and blah, blah, blah. And so
Right.
they have to
Oh, I
change
see.
their assembly line. That's why they require a minimum order of 1,000. Because same thing when you do a silk screening for CD printing. You have to order X amount of units minimum because they have to change their whole silk screen assembly line just to add the different image. So yeah, and manufacturing is very different. Now for them to create a demo, it's more likely that the manufacturer themselves say, hey, we're going to try and test this demo, which they just create one, but still it's them putting the money to create a new kind of
Yes.
chipset. But
Exactly.
they're the manufacturer themselves is the one investing just to create that one demo, and then they put it to all the other potential buyers and say, hey, would you guys be interested in this chipset? But it's not going that way. It's the buyers coming to the manufacturer and say, can you make this for me? And they're like, well, not without a big order because it costs too much for us to change our assembly line process.
Yeah. 1,000 actually is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Because they
Larger,
mass produce that.
Yep, I know people who would do orders of 1,000, but that's actually quite tiny for China.
Well, it's small, yeah, but it's a start, right? Like it's a start.
Well, no, it's not a start. It's financial suicide. Without really validating it. because the costs are extremely high on the manufacturing end. And because we want low prices as the buyers, the margins are actually quite low. And so with hardware, there's a few ways to go. And I can tell you all about it. You can go low cost, high quantity. And at that point, you're just doing whatever you can to push out the units. The reason why that Pine thing, it only has Android, they can't afford, even with all the money that they've pulled in on that Kickstarter, to hire the software devs to get a good version of Linux running. Now, I know for a fact that they've hired a team to develop the Linux. It's a team out of France called Free Electrons. Free Electrons is doing Linux kernel image for both Pine 64 and for Chip. But yeah, like it's those teams are insanely expensive to develop that kind of software because it's system software. It's the hardest. And in addition to that, the margins are tiny. Like I can tell you that Pine 64 is built to sell accessories. Pine 64 makes no money or even negative money on the average board.
So a solution would be is to try a similar model that is closest to what you want with the components that you are, comparable.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying
Yeah.
we'll try out the XU4 because it's already got the 3.0 port, and we already know what 2 gigabytes of RAM would do when we test it. And if that works out, then yeah, we can
with
actually.
the XU4, I want to let you know a couple things about that board real quick. It's made by Hard Kernel, and they're based out of Korea. And I can work with them, but actually their custom requirements are even higher than like the Chinese. So I think for custom orders, they begin at 10,000, and there's no discount till 50,000.
They don't give any discounts.
Yeah.
They offer $1 discount on 100 over 100 orders.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're probably the most like secure bet, I think, in terms of a hardware that's going to work and has all the specs so far.
Hard
So,
Kernel's
like,
quality, and Korean electronics generally, like
But think about that ceiling. Like they charging like $80, so you can charge 50. If you can get it for 20, then I'll still buy some for 50.
Oh, well, but you're not getting it. Me personally, I know for a fact I will never make money on hardware. Okay, so
Why
I would
not?
not do this deal to make money, but I would do this deal. Okay, I would help you to execute it, no problem. I would do this deal not to make money, but instead to get in with a hardware manufacturer and produce something else on a similar platform. Or I would do this deal and modularize the CPU component of it, and then the board would look a little different, but would function exactly the same, and then I would take and sell the modules. And the reason why I wouldn't want to make money on hardware is because hardware is an awful industry, honestly. It is cutthroat. And how do I put this? Like you don't fuck with the Guangdong Mafia. Electronics manufacturing, I imagine all of you know this, is really pretty much concentrated in a single Chinese province, and more or less controlled out of a single Chinese city, although the manufacturing is spread all over that province. So I know I can't compete with them. I know that if we make some piece of hardware and it gets even marginally successful, it'll be cloned within a week. So anything I'm involved in personally, like, and again, I'm very happy to create a deal for you, no trouble, any day. But if I were going to make a product and then put my name on it and stuff, I'd differentiate the hardware with software.
Yeah, and I'd say you could make money off it if you have an easy way that people could just pick up a farmer and start using it at home for very cheap, and they just basically plug it in.
So
People pay a
that's,
premium on that.
yes, exactly, Travis, exactly. And I'm looking a little bit beyond MadeSafe. What I mean by that is I'm going to, all right, so let me see if I can figure this out from a business perspective. So here we have some people from the MadeSafe community, and they want hardware that runs MadeSafe. We have me, I want to make a store, and in that store I want to sell boards that basically have preloaded applications on them, and MadeSafe is one of them. And we need collectively 1,000 pieces. Guys, a Kickstarter? I'm serious.
Well,
like,
there might be something better. And
yeah,
I think
okay, what's
everyone
up?
in this, all the tools to do everything you're thinking,
Mhm.
everyone here is already kind of working on. That's
Okay.
just really just a quite fascinating thing. Yeah, it looks like we've all been working in the same direction. And
Well, that makes sense. So I'd
so
love
go
to hear
to
people's concepts, thoughts, and what have you.
yeah,
Go
go to
to,
crowdsafe.io.
okay.
There's your crowdfunding platform, and you can have it any way you want.
Interesting.
Go to SAFEx.io to see how you can sell your online business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That alone, hopefully, just that little sneak peek of those sites. So I'd say the SafeCrypt Drive is an example of just a theory of how you could monetize and make money in a hardware software world, utilizing the benefits of the safe network. The key is safe network. That's what makes all of these things that kind of there's a slim chance maybe work. Actually, no, they're going to work really damn well, and they're going to be better than anything else that's ever existed, with almost no investment up front. So, yeah, you've got the SafeCrypt Drive. Then you've got the crowdfunding format, which I'm hopefully going to be doing a big update to that this week. And then, well, we all know Daniel's working his tail off.
Yep, there are many solutions coming. But can I just sort of like from a completely, as you mentioned earlier on, David, I'm completely non-technical. Can I just put this sort of, my question is, be,
Yeah, go for it.
surely, as I see it, isn't hardware on a slippery, slidey slope, just on, and it's almost in a palliative form. It's just waiting to be, the future's going to be software, surely not hardware. Am I just looking at from a perspective that's wrong, or how would the you technical people answer that question?
Bitcoin has shown us that hardware is the reason why things had changed so quickly. The Bitcoin software itself has not changed, not that much, but the hardware has. They used the regular computers, and then they went to high-end graphics cards, and now they're doing ASIC cards, specialized. So the hardware has evolved very quickly.
Yeah, because I'm just imagining this. Let's take this to a future, say 10 years down the line, and let's take it to a paradigm where most people now have got the option of the internet as current, but most people are on the safe network. Hence, most computers aren't going to need all the space they currently sell for storage, because people can store their stuff on a very small minimum part of the computer. So obviously the hardware, as I'm sitting there looking at my laptop now, in 10 years' time, just exponentially by technology anyway and how things shrink, but you can almost see that I look around and think, well, everything I'm looking at, screens and computers and HD TVs, they're all just redundant. I mean, everything's just going to come smaller and smaller and smaller, and hardware, and it's eventually, at some point, it's just going to be Is it going to be needed at all? Are we going to do this all biologically?
Imagine you have the computer doesn't need a hard drive anymore because it accesses the safe network and it's just like overloaded with RAM because you save so much space, not needing any hard drive components, no storage space components. You remove that whole interface and you save like half the hardware is probably going to be not necessary. So you can make very tiny circuits that you can just implant into a very thin screen. And just, I don't know. Yeah, for real, that's possible. If you just have a strictly safe network access.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
I still think though that the hardware is going to be required, and it will have to evolve because of the transfer rate.
Yeah, but remember,
Well, we'll need hardware components.
Yeah, maybe not specifically storage space on your physical device.
Yeah, imagine your physical device. That whole
but the safe network has to be stored somewhere, and so there will still be a need for
farmers, dedicated farmers. But your access device doesn't need
so
the
we're
hard
talking
drive.
about the cell phone versus the cell phone running the client node,
better than the cell phone.
And the farmer running a farming rig.
Well, imagine, because cell phone, like, they don't have that much RAM. So imagine like a laptop machine that doesn't need the whole, solid state drive or whatever interface. It doesn't need SATA, and it does, it could already have like 16 gigs of RAM. And imagine you just slice out the whole part where you have the data storage, and then all you need is a screen, and that already removes like a third of the whole.
That's if bandwidth gets cheaper. Because if you think about this,
bandwidth will get cheaper.
Yeah, but let's say just for example, this is for today. Someone has like 100 gigabytes of movies and data and files that he's constantly looking at and running at on his laptop.
But you're not going to watch more than 5 movies in one time.
Yeah, but to send that back and forth from the safe network is going to eat up a lot of bandwidth that's on his cell phone plan.
But you have RAM. You have RAM, and you could keep it loaded up in your RAM. And like if you have all this 100 or 1 gigabyte per second connections, if you're there, then you could do this all day. You can just have some like high-speed data access machine.
Well, I'm just saying that the data plans on cell phones are not there yet. They probably will get there as fiber optics start taking over the infrastructure.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about cell phones. I'm talking about like.
Well, you're both.
An Odroid plus a RAM module. An Odroid plus a RAM module.
No, actually. So, all right, check it out. Bandwidth is going to increase on cellular and on fiber a lot, and ideally, it's going to work toward being free. Why should bandwidth be free? Well, there are a million reasons why bandwidth should be free. And MadeSafe, one of the most brilliant things I think about it is that one of its designs is to drive down the cost of bandwidth by creating competition for bandwidth provision.
Mm-hmm.
It's like another layer of competition. But anyway, actually,
it opens up the possibility for a mesh network where you could have a parallel network to the regular ISP network. You basically just establish a different network that switches the encrypted chunks upon request.
Oh, here, wait. Guys, I want to show some
safe network specific network.
I'm gonna throw a link in here, and actually, I would like to ask if everybody would download this one program because I'm curious how it works. Dali Shala, I don't know your actual name, so Dali Shala. Anyway, sorry, what?
What?
Oh, there's an app that does what you were describing. It's called Zero Tier. And what it does, it moves data over the regular internet and creates, though, a secondary network
Yeah, I see that.
And actually, if anybody wants to download it, I have a few test nets going on zero tier. I'm working with a few people, well, a ton of
Is it
people.
open source?
It is open source, yes.
Mm-hmm.
With a ton of people scattered around the world, and what I'm trying to do, one of the
Yeah,
things I'm trying to do anyway, I want to test it.
GPL3 also. It's from Irvine, California. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, but it doesn't have a coin and stuff. It doesn't. It's not the
Oh,
same
no,
thing.
no. I'm going to use it for MaidSafe.
Yeah, I don't see how they're connected.
Really? Okay, I'll tell you. So if I have a safe vault that's not connected to the internet, but I can get it connected, you would see how it's connected immediately. Were you to download it and connect to one of these test nets, basically, it creates a virtual private network out of any N nodes. So like when I join one of these networks, it's like being, right next to somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
I use it on the server level. I don't know
So I'm thinking a parallel network, not on the internet, not on a totally different, like a
Right.
walkie-talkie.
Well, see that's what this
On
creates.
walkie-talkies that
It
interconnect
takes an
the
internet
whole world.
connection.
You see what I mean?
And
Like-
yep, same
Yeah, in the
thing.
United States, they have you could make hardware modules that will communicate on the white space, like television sets. So you can have a receive and transmit of that band, which is you can send more information further
Yeah, who was
or
telling me
farther
about white space
than
recently?
Wi-Fi. So you can have, IPv4 and V6
Who was telling me about white
information
space?
transmitting across like the former television bands.
Yeah, is anybody actually using it? I'm curious.
So Google did something with it. The FCC approved. They're working with that for like internet communications, and people can I think easily construct some hardware if they understood how to integrate the software with a software-defined network such as SAFEnetwork. You see what I mean? And like and
Safe
people
network's
can-
not a software-defined network.
So it switches chunks and validates chunks
Right, but it's not necessarily.
IP connections. So if you can establish IP connections on a not on on the regular internet with ISPs and stuff like that, you basically make a router with this TV band transmitter, and you transmit those chunks across that kind of medium. Then effectively, if enough chunks are on machines that are capable of transmitting on a white band, then you can eventually shut off the ISPs, and these machines could continue to maintain the network where there's no centralized provider of interconnectivity.
So that's it. That's what I was. So MakeSafe, I don't think would do that, but zero tier could serve as an underpinning layer that enables MakeSafe to do that. SDNs, there are tons of SDNs available now, but
I'm just saying
I don't think
that we could just eventually, because based on the iterative construction of this network, we can eventually come around and
Oh yeah, and people should
construct a
can
pipe
and should.
directly into a mesh network transmitter
Absolutely.
for the encrypted chunks and their location.
If you download zero tier, grab okay, so that's the network ID, and on that network ID, so the command on the command line is
Rich, while Jacob's doing that, tell us more about graphene boron, man.
Well, I haven't researched it that much, but basically, graphene is a single atom layer of carbon, and they're figuring out how they're going to be able to use it in the next generation of chips. Because as you know, we're about to run to the end of the physical limitation of silicon-based chips. I think there's 4 or 5 more generations, and they physically won't be able to make them any smaller because atoms or the electrons will actually jump from and won't be able to process properly. So using graphene and boron together, they're thinking that that'll basically be 10,000 times faster than the current chipsets that we use today, which is going to change everything. So
Is graphene cheap?
Actually, it's funny you mention it. Graphene is in your pencil. We grew up using lead pencils, and they discovered that if you take just regular old Scotch tape and you roll graphite over it, and you keep getting the Scotch tape and keep to where you peel off another layer and another layer, eventually you get down to one layer. And they found out graphene can be used, of course, not only for your chips. It can also be used as a storage device for batteries, and there's really interesting tutorials on YouTube you can look at where it's super easy to make your own batteries. You can literally get graphite. You can put it in a blender with like regular detergent soap, blend it up to where it busts it down to the smallest level you can get it to, and then you can get that graphene, which is basically graphite at the one atom level, and you can easily make a battery yourself at home. There's tutorials online that show how easy it is, and it doesn't take much. It takes a I won't get into it. I'll look it up and I'll post a link to it if you're interested. But the basic idea here is that the awesomeness of this new find, I think it was a couple of Russian scientists working out of a university in England that discovered it, and they won the Nobel Prize for it back, I think, about 4 years ago. And right now there's all of the major tech companies and universities that have put a lot of money towards their chemical sciences. They're all in a big rush to find who can produce the most amount of graphene for the least amount of cost. The amount of energy you can store in basically a battery the size of your cell phone would be able to power a jet. That's how powerful it is. And I think I had mentioned this on one of our last meetings. And so, it's just one of these technologies that right now it's whoever figures out how to manufacture it. What I'm thinking is people with their home printers, their home 3D printers, are going to be able to make some really amazing things in the future using graphene. Of course, but to make a chip, you'll have to have a high-tech device that actually somehow works, where you manipulate the graphene to interact with boron in order to create the right environment to create a chip. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and look for that on YouTube, and I'll post it here for whoever's interested in looking at it.
And yet at nature's level, ants do it with pheromones. So maybe that's where we're going to evolve to.
Yeah, and you mentioned that I was looking at something where it was about how ants communicate with each other and how they leave basically, I guess maybe it's a pheromone. They actually leave it on the wall of something, and the other ants, they come and sniff it or whatever they do, and then they're like, oh, okay, this is the direction we need to build next. It's like they leave blueprints for each other using these pheromones. It's pretty amazing.
And the fascinating part of that, Rich, is when first she goes out, the first worker ant or whatever goes out and she discovers maybe a piece of food, she'll leave one trail and she'll take someone tandem running with her. So she'll drag literally someone backwards with her, and then that's doubled the attraction, and over time everyone goes over the same pheromone path and becomes stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And I've always equated this to where we are with the safe network. It's just going to take a few people, and then the same path is going to be used over and over and over again, and it's just it's just the same principle in motion. But I've always wondered whether eventually that's where we're going to get to. We're going to get to the point where all our knowledge is transferred through pheromones, because nature does it a lot. I mean, nature doesn't have graphene, and unless nature's using us to build those things for us, I don't know.
Well, I think it's even better. I think it's more along the lines of the morphic resonance. You know, that when something happens in one place, for whatever reason, it's happening in another place. It's like that idea of quantum physics, where you have two particles that shared each other. They were next to each other, and then they were pushed apart throughout the away from each other. And when something happens to one particle, it's happening to the other at the exact same time, which makes you think, somewhere on the other side of this universe, I'm saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, Rich. Exactly. Well, that's the thing. That's the point. I mean, ultimately, that's when you get down to the level of it, and everything is entangled, and that's why I'm sort of fascinated to where. That's why I was sort of mentioning about hardware. I think maybe at some point we're just going to go beyond hardware, and future generations look back and think, oh, they dallied around with hardware, just as we look back at people thinking, oh, they didn't, when they were scribe writing scrolls and stuff. So, that's how I was just thinking. I know we've gone off on a bit of a tangent there. Sorry.
We do that.
Exactly.
The tangents are valuable. What makes it?
Exactly. No, I'm fascinated. I think the thing is we all know with hardware, and this is why I bring it up, is just we see so much hardware that's just thrown away, just discarded, and you just think there's a whole more and more of this coming, and it's trying to work out ways of, okay, this is all being produced, but we've got to find something to do with it. And I don't know, Jacob. I mean, maybe you're someone who knows at the hardware end. I mean, what's the recycling rate of a laptop right now? I mean, that's what I'm saying.
It's effectively zero.
So what can we do with these laptops? I'm sort of saying
laptops are worthless because they consume 5 times more electricity, 20 times more electricity than like the Odroid.
And well, so what you can do with a laptop, well, don't forget though, electricity is cheap. And electricity is one of the things that's kind of on its way to being free, because we have solar. I gotta tell you guys, one of the things that I'm looking at doing with clouds is building a solar compute farm in the Sahara Desert. I just had a conversation about that, right before I got this call, actually.
Make it an electric car vehicle charge station at the same time.
See? Yeah, why not? And so, like with modularization for compute, you could do actually exactly what Travis just suggested, and turn an electric car charging station into also a compute farm. Because
I'm trying to figure out how to drive to California with my electric car that has a range of about 150 to 200 miles, and I can't make it because there's not enough level 3 chargers or fast DC charge stations.
I'm just curious because guys, I haven't been in the States in 3 years. Shit, 3 years now. Wow, 3 years this month. So you got an electric car. What kind of car is it?
The BMW i3.
And is that a hybrid electric or?
No, it's powered 100% electric. It does have a 2-cylinder kind of backup generator that'll extend another 80 to 100 and something miles.
So it's interesting. So it's got a gas motor, but that's just for boosting the range? You can't use that as like primary?
No, it doesn't propel the car. It just charges the batteries.
And if you run your batteries down, it can't run only on the generator?
Just as fast as the generator will charge the batteries. So I've been on a hill where I ran my batteries dry, and so I couldn't go faster than 40 miles per hour. That's all. So yeah, it's very frustrating, because I've gone 2,500 miles and only used 2 gallons of gas, but just thinking of going on a trip and looking at the map and where there's fast DC charge stations, which take about 15 to 20 minutes to charge the car.
Fully?
Yeah, fully.
Wow.
And so I need them in the Sahara Desert and other places where I can just pull up and pay with SafeCoin and charge my car and maybe check my safe messages at the same time. If you could build that, that would be perfect. And if you add with the solar, if you do wind turbine combined and do a 300-foot tower, which out in the Sahara Desert people probably wouldn't care too much, you have continuous wind turbine power generation as well.
Well, so that's why I'd like to be in the Sahara, frankly, because the land today it has no value, but it's getting all sorts of sun. Sun has value, and the Sahara Desert is in some really very poor countries that could use an infrastructure boost.
Yeah,
so what I'm looking
it
at
works. Yeah, I have solar power that runs all the. Well, I'm a little over now because of the electric car, but yeah, solar panels powers my house.
Oh, cool.
It's yeah, it's definitely the future, and I think any project that can combine all these things together really excites me quite a bit.
Now, where do you live?
In Utah.
Oh, that's right. And you said you worked with cloud systems? You do IT stuff, or?
No, I work on humans. I work in surgery.
Oh, cool.
But they work surprisingly very similar, and so that's probably that's probably why I find all this stuff very fascinating. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm in the middle of a career change.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, 2 years ago, I stopped being a history teacher, so career changes happen.
Yeah, it's 20 years that I've been working on humans, and it's amazing and it's rewarding. But just hearing a discussion like this, it just I don't know. That's where my passions are going, or what are some things that I can work on to have a positive impact on people on a grander scale.
Right, it's sort of at the mass, systemic level.
Yeah, yeah.
I totally understand that feeling. Wow, I can relate to that.
Well, welcome, Jacob. I think this is the first time joining ANT meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as you kind of dive deeper into it, you'll see that all the people here have a very similar thought process, and it's a lot of fun because I don't know about you, but my daily activities in my daily life, I don't run into anybody like I do here in ANTS. And it's
well, so I've kind of made that my business. So I'm sort of surrounded in it, actually. I'm trying to. I got started in this to put technology in people's hands because I was saying to Tom the other day that basically I see us either having a very great or a very bad future, and that there's very little middle ground. I read a number of things that kind of confirmed what I was thinking, and after really giving it some thought, I had a really neat job teaching at a private high school outside of Shanghai, and it was all very pleasant and comfortable, right? And I decided I was going to leave that and try to start an open hardware company because what I saw was hardware manufacturers kind of trying to lock people out. They're not hardware, sorry, it's really a collaboration between the hardware people and the software people in terms of locking people out because you can't do it without that collaboration. But, my whole thing right now, everything, is just how can I contribute as much as possible to empowering regular people, because regular people don't go and start World War III. Because if we can avoid that, we can do such things as a species.
Well, I
That's
think
what
we're.
excites. Go
Go,
ahead.
go on,
I'm
Travis.
sorry.
Go ahead, Travis.
I can say that's what excites me about the Safe Network, is I think it's going to do just that. I'm just allowing people to communicate and connect with each other in an uncensorable way, in a private way if they choose. Um, will get us to that goal quicker than anything.
Oh, I agree with you.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, this is where almost like the whole conversation almost goes cyclical in its nature, in the fact that, as we said, to get the users on board, as we've said many times, you know, it's ease of use. It's all about getting that ease of use, because I've said this many times, that the people's outside there, like you said, Travis, in the real world, and the people that are living in the world out there, their first experience of whatever we offer, the apps we build, whatever we offer to the public, if their first experience of that is a negative experience, that will carry for a long time. Now we can overcome that, but that very first initial thing, if we can make it as easy as possible, as David's spoken about many times, and make it as user friendly as possible and as easy as possible, then that connects the two, and that's the connection between software and hardware. We've got to. It's all right having the shiny hardware if the software is rubbish, or having the great software but the hardware is not good. If we can link the two and get both right and make both with that same sort of mantra, trying to make things as easy as possible, there's no reason why. We're just pushing on. We're pushing the air, aren't we? Really, the people. I don't. As I said many times, not many people I know are gonna. If they're offered the safe network compared to the internet as it is right now, I can't see many people staying behind. As I said before, how many people are still, flying around with, old school valve TVs, or. I don't know. Before you jump in, David, I know you've got a flip phone, but how many people have got flip phones? Go on, David. I know you're gonna say it. Go on. I'm just waiting.
I used to have a flip phone. I finally made the transition to smartphones.
But
Oh,
it's that point though, isn't it? It's trying to make that ease of use, and and again that goes back to Daddy's Safe Exchange and the whole of that. That was what I personally found very inspiring about it from beginning to end, was it was ease of use. From someone who maybe not have a technical knowledge about cryptocurrencies and stuff, it was very easy to sort of walk my way through that. And I just think these are essential, and I think it's something that it's that link between the whole of this conversation has been about hardware, and we've had touched upon software, but the whole thing that links it all together is the people out there. Their first experience has got to be correct, and all of you know that, and all your professions, everybody knows that in real life. The first experience they have is often the memorable one. That's just true of life, and that's why I think it's essential that we have to focus on that as much as possible.
Absolutely
well
right.
said. Well
Yeah.
said.
Stunned silence.
Cricket, cricket.
Yeah.
Part of all this is going to be getting really large capital behind MaidSafe, and that doesn't really matter if it's collective capital, as in many people with small amounts of money, or enormous capital. Of course, can't let that actually change the mission of the project.
Mm-hmm.
But what comes to mind in my mind is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this project, Magic Leap.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard of it.
Okay. They've raised so much money, almost $2 billion in venture capital that they've raised so far. And
Yeah, but we on the Safe Network, we don't really have to go that route. It's more like Bitcoin. Venture capital is only a small portion of the entire economy of. It's only a small portion of the economy of Bitcoin. Venture capital is like 350 million out of 6 or 7 billion. So venture capital is not the source of what makes it effective. It's the people using the currency of the network economy.
Oh,
So
that's not what I'm
yeah,
talking about. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, okay, and you're right. Okay, so the venture capital, it doesn't even fund the currency. What makes the currency have value are all the applications and things using the currency. And I mention that magically because, well, A, they did raise a lot of money, but also B, get projects like that using MadeSafe, then it would be really hard for MadeSafe to fail. Get Alibaba to put their site on MadeSafe platform. They get those collective investments. Those make a really big difference because once you have large organizations making bets on your platform/infrastructure, it creates a certain permanence.
I would agree. I mean, I've been working on getting samples for different stuff from several Chinese manufacturers, and they all want to do Western Union, and my mind is blown. You know, I'll say, well, can I send you Bitcoin? And
Yeah.
go down to your local store and they will hand you your cash. I just don't want to use Western Union. And these are the manufacturers of some of the most bleeding edge technology and the different hardware I'm looking at, and they can't even think beyond Western Union.
Travis,我会中文，和没关系。如果你要我电话他们，I speak Chinese, and if you want me to get a hold of them, and
that would be awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna be hitting you up for sure. Need your help.
Okay.
If
Yeah,
anything,
and
just educating these manufacturers how we can empower them.
Well, okay, so check it out. That's really hard because they live behind the Great Firewall, and MadeSafe unfortunately may not conquer the Great Firewall. I got to tell you guys that. Reason it may not conquer the Great Firewall is that China is building in all sorts of edge systems these days, and the fact of the matter is that right now the government there, they control the network, the physical network layer. And anyway, their electronic culture is very different from ours. Would you believe that, I was in Shenzhen for 6 months and couldn't put a proper deal together because the same business model that people from outside of China were just dying for, thought it was just incredible. People inside China couldn't see it existing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but anyway,
would it be possible to talk them into accepting gold? If I had a way for them to keep gold, say in a Swiss vault, or they could just order it and have it physically shipped to them?
Probably not, but maybe. Basically, I can tell you their concerns, and I can probably create some alternatives for you.
Yeah, I just want an alternative to Western Union. That's what I can't fathom is, here, I will send you, well, cash is ridiculous to send to China.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to even do that, or, here, I'll ship you gold. Or let me give you value in some way.
I don't know how large an order you want to place, but one of the reasons I live in Hanoi is so that I can go to Shenzhen, and if need be, if you want me to just take them money, as long as you know that the product is sound and everything, or even if you want me to evaluate it and tell you if it's sound. I can do that, and I can stay there for the week or two it takes for them to, put the order through.
Okay. No,
Um,
that's very nice. Thank you very much.
oh, no problem.
I
Uh,
have some
I,
thoughts on that for sure.
hardware is fun. So if you need an intermediary, even in the financial sense, I don't mind, like, I know how to turn Bitcoin into UN. Most of them don't know what Bitcoin is, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And that's,
it seems like once they realize that they can get anyone from anywhere in the world to pay them, and they don't need a bank or Western Union or anything else to have access to their value, um, I just, it has to take off. How is Western Union the most successful form of payment for them?
it's not actually. What they really want, I'll tell you, is interbank payments. And the reason they really want interbank payments, not that like they're looking for like SWIFT usually, and the
Okay.
reason they want that, even though again like it's very inefficient, it's slow as hell, and we live in 2015 and money should move instantly. But the reason they want that is that their government really tweaks the regulatory landscape to prefer that kind of service.
Just inefficient, crappy, non-dependable.
And so their government tweaks the regulatory landscape for efficiency, but allow me to explain. Here's how it screws you. Okay? The efficiency they're seeking is economic, specifically having to do with the what do you call it? The reserve. You know the exchange reserve that countries keep?
Mm-hmm.
They're looking to increase their holdings of dollars, essentially. And if you pay a vendor in gold or in Bitcoin, that doesn't get the government its goal. And so they don't give the companies, for example, I know that one of the things that they get when they use a proper interbank transfer is about a 20% boost.
All right. Well, that sounds great. I'm sorry, guys. I got a sick kid here to take care of.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm definitely going to follow up with you guys later.
cool.
All right, take
Hey,
care,
have a good
Travis.
one.
Take care, Travis.
Yeah. So sorry. Darn it. This is
Don't worry.
really good
Travis,
conversation.
Travis, I have a auto trader for Poloniex sometime this week, so
Oh,
that
perfect.
you could buy or sell things on an interval above or below a certain price, however you like,
Oh,
and it'll
perfect.
just sweep up the order book and take the trades that only you would have taken if you were at the computer.
Perfect. Because I've got some people with that are wanting to trade Bitcoin for SEC,
Yeah,
and I'm figuring out the best way to do that.
I already connected, and figured out all the security
Perfect.
connections to both Poloniex and Bittrex. So
Oh,
we'll have auto
awesome.
robots for that.
All right,
Cool.
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be hitting you up as well, Daniel. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Talk to you
And
later.
my goal is to get SEC out to as many people as possible.
Sounds good.
Well, perfect. Well, great talking to you, Travis, man. Have a great day, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
See you
We'll
later,
see you
dude.
later.
Later.
Right.
Hey, quick question about the API. Or, sorry, you didn't even mention an API. I'm talking APIs. I'm thinking APIs. That auto trader you just mentioned, does it? I want a open source cryptocurrency API that supports as many cryptocurrencies as possible. Anybody have any insight on that?
Well, I think Daniel, don't you you've talked to
Danny.
Voorhees, right? You've talked to Eric Voorhees before, right? So he would be the one.
Well, nonetheless, there's an API for Shapeshift. that would so
I'm looking to sort of be the shapeshift,
so
or actually a
you're
shapeshift
talking
that's
about
a lot
you're
more
talking about
ACs.
you're talking about being an infrastructure. So that's just a matter of how much code you can write. So it's yeah, you just need to write a protocol for your cold storage and your ability to source altcoins.
Right. Well, to begin to do it though, what I need is a model, and so I'm looking for currently existing APIs. You get what I mean? Because I know that I don't know enough now to implement it, but I know that I easily could, and so I'm looking for open source crypto APIs.
Which language?
Any language, but Go is what we prefer.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm sure you can just go on GitHub.com and just Google it.
Well,
Yeah, I'm sure you can
and I
find
really haven't.
all the crypto you need. So what I was just describing was there's two common exchanges, Poloniex and Bittrex, that trade MadeSafe coin. So they have an API, so you can trade from some kind of application interface. And yeah, that's the API I was talking about. So
Hey, thank you. I think
Yeah.
you just like totally answered my question and blew it out of the park. Seriously, thank you.
Hey guys,
How you doing, Brady? My man, how you doing?
Yeah, Brady.
how you doing?
I'm doing good. How's everyone else doing?
Man,
Hey.
man, I need to turn your mic up a bit, my friend.
Oh yeah, sure.
You sound like you're a tiny little man in a massive, big room.
Just a sec, I'll get you covered.
Well, I learned a lot today.
Oh man, you're telling me.
Yeah.
I think. Is there anything else while we've got this kind of like lull, but anyone else wants to sort of bring up, you know?
Oh, yeah. So I guess with the Safe Exchange logo is pretty much set, right? So we can go ahead and start playing with it, playing with graphics, memes, whatever, to try and get that. We want people
Whatever
to
you want.
recognize it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anything you want to do.
Yeah.
It's,
So maybe
Yeah, it's the
create like
property. Yeah, I wanted to just say it's a property of the decentralized board of trade. You know what I mean?
So, do you have a vector graphics a file of that? So, or maybe I should make one, or what? Something that could be enlarged without losing resolution. Does it?
Because that one's the PNG, right?
Yeah, it's a PNG. A vector graphic would allow someone to enlarge it infinitely without losing resolution.
So is it good enough that it's 1,000 by 1,000 as a PNG? Can you make a?
Oh no, it's great for most instances. I think you have 1,000 by 1,000 at 72 DPI. If you have one at 300, that would be better.
Okay.
If you have a vector graphic, that would even be better yet.
I'll share. I'll post that one up.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and hopefully we get listed on the exchanges, and hopefully the exchanges appreciate that there's a generic auto trader for both of their exchanges.
Right.
So even people who trade like Ethereum can use this robot to not only trade MadeSafe coin, but any coins.
Yeah, I did my first Ethereum trade with I bought some at the pre-sale, and I was really nervous, you know, transferring it over.
Wow.
And I was thinking,
Did you get a bunch, Rich?
Yeah, a fair amount.
Hey, go on, Rich. You big boy, my friend.
But a friend of mine who doesn't want to take the time to learn about this, but got all excited about it. He has more money than I do, and I'm sort of handling his affairs too. But anyway,
congratulations.
yeah, but yeah, so I'm transferring it, and I'm thinking, oh man, I hope I do this right, you know. And you're you're looking at everything, you're making sure you capture all of the data, you know, saving it as a like screenshot or whatever to make sure you don't screw up. And sure enough, it went through. I forgot the name of the organization that I used to transfer it, but anyway, it went through fine. But it takes 500 confirmations before it shows up on Poloniex, and I was like, wow, that takes a while.
Yeah,
I think it took like 3 hours.
Stability issues.
Right.
Getting the nodes synchronized requires that many just in case something went wrong.
Right. So,
yeah, but nonetheless, they have risen in value probably like 10 times from their pre-sale value.
Sure have, yeah. It was really surprising. I didn't know what to. I was thinking that one of the others would take off first. I thought maybe NXT or BitShares would have more market share, but I still believe BitShares might come through.
I thought MateSafe might have taken a blast to 200 mil in market cap, but I never thought BitShares or NXT would make it that far.
Well, I'm a little bit disappointed in the clients for for both of them actually, but even more so for NXT. BitShares is really I think honing in on a specific market. You know, they'll be very useful for big money to move around things on their platform, especially. But I mean, ultimately, I see MadeSafe taking away everything. You know, that MadeSafe and the SAFEnetwork is going to dominate it all. But until then, there's going to be this play in the market while people are trying to figure out what's going on, that people can still make money trading one against the other. And until you see something's about to pop, then you just move your coins over to the one you know that you have the most faith in.
But naturally, Ethereum, if that 500 confirmations can reduce down to 3 confirmations, it'll make it the fastest blockchain on the entire ecosystem of decentralization. So it would mean.
And that'll happen when they move over to Casper, won't it?
I'm not sure. I just follow the headlines, so I'm not sure.
I join a hangout every now and then. I think you would really enjoy it on Wednesdays at noon, Mountain Standard Time. There's a hangout with Greg Meredith from the Scenario. He's working on the Scenario program, which is the decentralized social networking application and platform. But he's also one of the head people working on Casper, which is the proof of stake that Ethereum is going to be using. And so he's a good person to talk to figure all that stuff out. And by the way, Brady. Greg was looking forward to meeting with you if you have some time next Wednesday, because Greg is a musician, and I think did I send you? Yeah, I did. I sent you a link to his music, and he was trying to do something similar to what you're doing, with collaborating with people live, but he was having too many issues with latency problems. But that's still, I think, close to his heart, and so I think he would love the idea of what you have in mind for hardware to make music collaborations possible in a decentralized way. I think he would be all over that. And right now we have Jacob, who I don't think you've met Jacob yet, but Jacob, I think he lives in Vietnam. And he speaks Chinese and is very much involved in sharing, finding the right hardware for the right software, and he knows how to procure all that. And then the point I'm raising this, I know, I think we're in a position, all of us, and we have connections in such a way that if we saw something that is viable, we could pull the resources together to create the right environment to create new hardware. To drive to drive what we need to drive.
Oh yeah.
Well, Brady, maybe give an overview of what Rich was just trying to lead you into, then, because I think, like you said, Jacob would be a great person to sort of mention it to.
Well, yeah, there's a lot. Can everyone hear me now? Is it a little better?
Not really. You're real quiet, actually, which is funny because you got a big ass microphone.
Hang on a minute. Let me see what's going on.
Okay.
you guys carry on for a minute and let me try to figure out why this is not
All right.
working for me today.
Hey, I had a quick question. Dali Shah, this auto trader thing, is this an open source thing?
Yeah. I just didn't put any code up yet.
Oh, okay. You
Yeah.
wrote it.
Yeah, I'm writing it. I just started the other day.
And what language do you program in?
In Rust.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah, it's
So,
kind of a
have you?
minefield because there's not a lot of documentation. Everything is just a free-for-all right now. So
True.
you gotta invent a lot of stuff that people not done before.
Yeah, yeah. Now, are you qualified to give me any comparison with Golang?
I don't know anything about Golang.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
I only know C# and C++ and Rust
Okay.
and JavaScript. Rust is
Well,
like
hey,
Rust is like no, I can't. I could say maybe Rust is kind of like JavaScript with types, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure how to explain it. But
all right.
I just know how to use it.
Hey, that's enough, you know.
Yeah.
Um, do watch. I'm putting together a summary of our work so far, with both Clouds and Dawn, and when I get that to you, if there's anything that you think that you can work on, I'm working on a business model of sponsored open source development for coders from anywhere in the world, but basically the concept is like this. Bring coders from outside Vietnam to Vietnam, expose Vietnamese coders to outside coders, and sort of see what happens and get sponsorships from open source companies, because there's a lot of big business in open source these days, to create these connections.
My music's open source.
Yeah.
Cool! Hell yeah!
Yeah, everything's open source.
My life's open source.
Exactly.
It's the way to be.
Am I any louder now? Is that
Yeah.
any better?
Yes,
Perfect.
actually, it's very clear.
So Brady, go on. Sorry, you were going to say.
Who, me?
Yeah, Brady, go on. Tell Jacob about your concept.
Yeah. Well, it's an open collaboration project that I'm just collecting open source tools and things that allow people to communicate a little more fluidly and openly. I mean, some of it's, I use some closed source tools and stuff. I mean, we're all using Google right now, but it allows us to communicate a little more openly. And I'm basically just creating a template for anyone to utilize and collaborate. And that's not just musicians. That's artists, musicians, coders, writers, screenplay, directors, whatever, any type of creative type of endeavor. And I'm wanting to just create a platform where everyone can collaborate and join. And I mean, sometimes you need a writer, sometimes you need an editor, sometimes you need some music, sometimes you need some artwork, sometimes you need a coder. And I'm trying to gather everyone under an umbrella project and just really pull everyone together. And in terms of the music, I'm going to use that as kind of the fuel for kind of fueling a lot of this. And I personally, I'm taking and splitting some of the donations and money I'm making off some of the music and donations that I'm getting from different people, and I'm splitting it off to different charities and people who are working on the projects and trying to come up with a template. And it's not 100% yet. I'm still experimenting with a lot of the new technologies and blockchain ideas and smart contracts that have yet to mature into anything usable yet. But the idea is to take all this and roll it all into one big ball and create a new type of creative endeavor that rewards people, similar to the way a time bank really would, is the best and easiest way to put it. And I'm using an incentivization type model to do this. But in terms of the hardware, which is what I think everyone would probably like to talk about here. I'm really wanting to lean towards real-time collaboration with musicians and people able to come onto the platform and offer their stuff. And even if you can't actually collaborate in real time, I'm wanting to get people to start recording and submitting some of their stuff. And I don't know. It's a very open-ended type thing right now, and I want everyone to collaborate and join in. And I don't care really who you are. I don't even care if you're not even entirely artistic or aren't even really a creator of any type. I just want people to come on and have it like anybody that can really participate. And the hardware side of things really, there's a lot of hardware. I'm big on open hardware, and I would like to utilize anything I can, but I'm trying to find funding structures and using creative endeavors as a whole to start creating new funding models that aren't really based on business and more so based on peer-to-peer models. And personally, none of my ideas are really going to work or have any kind of viability until smart contracts are usable. And I'm like sitting here like a little kid waiting for ice cream right now, just like, please, 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 I can't wait until I can have a functional smart contract. And that's kind of what I'm at right now, and I'm just using what I have available right now. Well, yeah, you said don't wait. I'm not really. I'm starting right now, and this is Sessions is the beginning, and that's what it is. It's just an open collaboration experiment, and it's not just music. Music just happens to be my thing, and it's going to be very musical because that's who I am.
Well, creativity takes almost infinite forms, so.
Yeah, Brady, I'm exploring a music player in Rust so that we can be able to, let's say, if you upload a piece of music, you can buy it for the SAFEcoin.
Nice.
Or or automatically buy it for the SAFEcoin. Like, let's say someone wants to buy a drum track, you can put up a bounty, someone submits the track, and you pick which one, and they get the SAFEcoin out of it.
Nice. I do have an ulterior motive for music in general here, and platforms like what you're talking about right there. I just want to open music up, lower the bars to entry, and in the end, I want to see copyright become obsolete because it's fucking stupid. For lack of
yes. Oh, yes. No. It is fucking stupid. Copyright is a theft from all the human species. It's disgusting. You can't own ideas, and the sooner that we get that enshrined in law, the sooner we can make actual progress.
Yep.
Well, I got to tell you a thought on that. See, we're either right here, as in really close, or we're stepping over the precipice into a very dangerous shithole.
Yeah. Well, it can go two ways right now. Everyone knows we're at a crossroads in human history right now, and that's with a lot of things. That's not just with copyright. That's with more things than I can even begin to wrap my head around, and I'm just now starting to. And it's amazing just to look at where we could go from right here. And yes, it could be a very dark thing, or it could be an amazing thing. And actually, I listened to The Last Life is People with you, Jacob.
Oh, cool.
And you guys got onto this conversation already, so I won't go too deep into it because you guys already dug pretty deep in. But no, you're right. I mean, we're at a turning point right now, and it could go two different ways. And I'm doing everything I can, just like you are, to steer humanity in some type of a positive direction. And that's what Sessions really is. A lot of people ask me, what is Sessions? And I'm like, I don't really fucking know, to be honest. It's just what I'm doing, and it's the most open format kind of thing I can come up with, and I'm just throwing myself out there and trying to do something positive. And even if it is a failure, at least it's not a failure if it was something positive, because that's what the world needs right now.
So, actually, I gotta say, I really like what you're describing. It's cool. Now, all right, you want to get into kind of maybe some of the problems that you've had in real-time collaboration for creative purposes. Maybe tell me a little bit about that.
Well, right now it's hardware-based because up until this year, actually, there wasn't actually any type of audio interface that you could use to play with somebody on the other side of the world in any kind of functional way. But they just there's one platform. I don't know what the name of it is off the top of my head. I'll have to. I'm gonna get some sharing links and stuff on the sessions community that's starting up right now. And
Cool.
when that's the only one I've found, but it's a USB 3.0 box, and it's a box that the company came out with. And I mean, you could use other 3.0 audio interfaces, but I've seen issues with it.
And like this
everything's
thing,
open
it
source.
compensates for lag or compresses sound to reduce lag, or
You know, I'm not entirely sure. There's one that does actually compensate for the lag, and it puts everyone on a metronome, and it plays, it records on beat with what you're hearing, and then broadcasts on the next beat for everyone else, so everyone's still playing in time. And the one that does that is actually an open source one. I think that's called Sound Ninja or something. I can't remember. Like I said, I'm going to share all these links, and I actually have a pros and cons thing about all the open source ones, all the closed source ones, and I'm going to have a full rundown. It's already written up. I just have to publish it, and it'll go through all of it. And most of it, you can use any hardware interface. It could be USB 2.0 or 3.0, but the real-time collaboration, that's the really hard one right now. And
oh yeah,
that's it. I think it's going to get to the point where we can, but I mean, these technologies just have to mature to the point it's a little easier. But no one's doing it open source. Everyone's got this like little evil scientist thing that they're wanting to do in their own private little island they don't want anyone to know about, and that garbage is just going to fail. I mean,
well, yeah, exactly. It doesn't grow the user base. It slows down the user growth, and that's in my mind, user base is where the actual money is.
Yeah, yeah. But well, here's the thing, though. I mean, what you said right there is exactly what I think music really is all about. Because, like my music, if I play my music and I don't have listeners, it's nothing at all. Period. You have to have an audience for it to be anything, and that goes for everything beyond music. So. I'm trying to take the open source software mentality and bring it into music, because not a lot of musicians really A, understand that, B, know it's a thing, C, even attempt to understand it so they can implement it in their own projects. And there are some guys I know that do it, and all the props to them. They're using all open source software, but it's so few and far between that I just want to try and lower the bar to entry with sessions to where everyone can kind of come on, bring their own ideas, bring open source tools I don't know about, maybe develop new ones, whatever, and see where we can go, and take these same templates and apply it to everything, not just music. And this is just creative soup I'm making right here. And if you bring ingredients, throw them in.
I wanna help you cook your soup. Because real-time collaboration has been a theme of my projects from the start.
Yeah.
I think it's a really positive way for people to do things, period. Because like when we have presence and a shared task, the product changes, it morphs from something with just one mind to, if you're using the right tools, to something that has input from many minds and represents a plurality of viewpoints. You get something that's the product is more, I don't know, it's better.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, music, I mean, I'm not the greatest musician in the world, but I love what I do, and that's what I want to just see is people bring that passion, not so much like, oh, I'm the best musician in the world, I know all the chords, I'm classically trained. I don't really care about all that. I don't even care if someone's just learning 2 chords and they bring that to a session and say, here's what I have, and they just dump it in the sessions pool and say, here, I don't know what to do with this, I'm just now learning how to write music. And then everyone can kind of start grabbing that, piecing it together, and play with it. And I mean, that's what open source software development's like, and I want that
That's absolutely right. And in open source software, there's a big divide between the pros and the amateurs. But one thing nobody can really deny is that a lot of the primary innovations, a lot of the really world-shaking shit, comes from exactly the kind of people you're describing,
Yeah.
who are just getting started. They make some push, they put out some code, and all of a sudden they become involved, they become engaged, and this code base that somebody relatively inexperienced ends up driving ends up being one of the ones that makes the real difference.
Yeah, well, those people
Because
think outside the box.
yes, exactly.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I like about open source anything, and that's why I want to open source music. I mean, let's face it. If you've heard the "Axis of Awesome" song, the four chord song, okay, four chords are literally the makeup of 90% of all pop music. Okay, we may only be talking about pop music here, but when you transpose that to classical music, all music has been played sometime in the past. And you cannot, I mean, that's why copyright is so stupid in music because, okay, I have some chords. I happen to pluck them a little different. Okay, maybe I pop my thumb a little harder at the first note. Okay, how do you copyright that? Honestly, that is the same shit Bach and Beethoven and every great musician throughout history has played hundreds of times over in many different versions and many different musicians, and you can't. It doesn't make any sense. It needs to be open, and I'm glad we are at a point right now where I see it coming, and it's going to be in a way that a lot of people are uncomfortable with and probably even mad about, but copyright's about to be obsolete for at least music. Probably not other things, but music is going to be one of those things, even if I have to be the one that does it.
Yeah, I would say
Now,
there,
why
Brady.
are you talking about the SafeNet or something else? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm talking about immutable data first, okay? Because if someone publishes something anonymously on like IPFS, even, okay,
Yeah.
it's on IPFS forever. What are you gonna do if you don't know who put it up there? I mean, are you gonna sue IPFS? Okay, good luck with
they'll
that,
try.
buddy. Yeah, okay. Oh, great. Let's start attacking developers now. That's what I truly worry about is the attack on developers. And if that happens, you can guarantee I'm going to be one of the first people to stand up along with a whole hell of a lot of others because you can't attack development. You can't attack creativity because at that point, that's when full-blown social
They're
unrest and
already doing
revolutions
it, though.
start. They
They're
are,
already
but
doing it.
they're doing it in a
that's
way.
why we may be headed for that.
True, but they're doing it in a way that causes more decentralization, which causes more resilience, which causes more of what they're trying to prevent.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I just got to tell you though, I see, I understand exactly what you're thinking about, and I think it might go the nasty way, man.
It
Particularly on this issue.
And by the nasty way, do you mean the bad guys all also get that dark privacy world that everyone's afraid of happening and get to do whatever they want as well, or what do you mean?
Well,
exactly
yeah,
by
the
that?
world where we have no privacy, where they have control over our privacy,
Well, the problem
and
is that we're already there. We either crawl out of it or continue to go the same direction. I mean, we're screwed right now as it is. I mean, we are everything we say, everything we do, everything.
I know it's
everywhere
really
we go.
it's a little disturbing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it down to a hardware level. I mean, you can't get away from any of it until open source hardware is a thing. So, I mean, I love all the open source software. I love all the privacy initiatives. I love all the everything that's happening. I really do. But until hardware is addressed, which it is, it's just on the a little by very very few and far between. And I'm hoping that's going to be more of a thing because open hardware. I love 3D printing, and I can't wait until 3D printing of circuit boards is really like a widespread thing because then we can really get on board with open source hardware in a real sense. Not so much, okay, this piece was made here, this piece was made here, this piece was made over here, but they did compromise that one processor, and actual processors themselves are kind of monopolized, so you just have to deal with that for now. And there's so many things in terms of hardware that is disturbing in the reality we face right now, to where I'm just focusing on my music right now and hoping that all gets worked out. And I'm also going to try and develop some type of funding model with my music as a fuel to make sure that those projects that I understand that are important are actually, get some mileage. And I think music's a big thing. I mean, a lot of people love music, and if I'm able to take, like, even as simple as a Bitcoin splitting address and just split it off to different developers, collaborators, and users of and contributors to the projects that I'm working on, and open source development, and things that I believe that are actually going to make a difference and change what people think is important and understand is important in this world, then by all means that's what I'm doing. But I have no clue how I'm going to do it, and I don't think anyone else really does. We're all just kind of winging it, hoping we're going to make that happen. But like you said, yeah, you think it's going to go a dark direction, and I think everything does when there's a fundamental problem with our social structure, and now it's a global problem. It's not like this little national problem over here and this national problem over here. This is a global problem. We're not going to survive this century if we don't figure these problems out. And I think if we don't fundamentally shift the way we think about what is important in terms of food production, collaboration, development, and that's human development, mental development, software, hardware, social, everything, period. We're screwed, and we're going down the dark direction you're talking about, Jacob.
But equally, Brady, and this is the thing, as I bang on about this a lot. Through all the things you're saying, just these little conversations have massive effect. The small things have massive effect, and that's what we can put into it. Instead of being fearful of the beast, attack the beast full on with your sword, with your light and blaze, because it doesn't like what we're doing. So great, don't be fearful of it. Step into the void with all your chest out and say, hey ho, go for it, man. I mean, what we got? What else we got? We've got a short period on this planet, and then we're gonna die, man. What else we got? Let's be real. This is what we're put here for. And what I'm trying to say is, our things every little step we do have effects. I always say this to people. I say it to Daddy all the time. I say it to people like you, Brady. I say it to people. You don't understand how many people you're inspiring. You're never going to meet, and that's the thing where we can't stop what we're doing, and that's why I'm trying to say every little thing we do makes a huge fractal difference. And that's why, yes, there's a like we were saying, there's a positive and a negative, but that's all we can do. If we keep pushing away with what we're doing, I think we're going to be victorious, because as I said, taking the concept, like you said, we're jumping to a void. We're pushing at air. We're not selling things. We're not trying to get anything to anybody else what they don't want. Humans instinctively want connection, they want resources, and they want love. That's what we all find on a day-to-day level. All the other things with this whole conversation tonight has been about, these are constructs set up by people who are, let's be real, they're long time dead, man. These rules were set up by people who are dead, and that's where we can shape the new paradigms. Don't be fearful of it. Enjoy it, man. Embrace it. These are the days that we're going to live for, man. These are the days when we get old. We're going to sit around listening to our hip hop when we're in our 70s, and the old people saying, like, "Oh, do you remember in 2016? This is the greatest days to live in, man. Enjoy it."
Hey, Rich.
Hey, Rich.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I've been here listening the whole time. I just earlier I was eating and I didn't want to gross you all out or whatever.
I'm into that eating ASMR. You should have got on camera and went.
Yeah, dripping.
Well,
anyway.
I'll tell you, for me, man, I mean, I don't know if anyone else has got any other issues, but man, to me, my mind's just been kind of blown tonight. We've gone down a rabbit hole of hardware that I thought as an average person on the street I would never know. I mean, I'm thanking you, man. It's been as insightful as ever. Brady, I think it's now becoming a tradition, man, seeing you're here, and I know, again, maybe sort of, I'll flag it up. We've got sessions coming up on the 17th, so that's again, please go to the Sessions Media site, get involved, because as Brady was quite rightly saying, This is the whole idea of sessions is going to be nothing without people joining. So it's all about going out there and spreading word. And that's the same with every product, everything we're all working on. As Jacob was quite rightly saying earlier on, it's all about just helping each other, all collaborating, and you know what I mean? And it's like nature. We'll go back to the analogy me and Rich were speaking earlier on. How do ants conquer the world? How have they got the world, you know, how have they got everywhere in the world? It's that very idea that they all just doing their own thing, but just collaborating and not fighting each other, and that's how super colonies are won, man. That's how we win, and it is, like you said, Brady, it's unstoppable. So, man, come on, you're going to play us out with a song, my friend. What tell us about it? Tell us what it's called, and give us the thoughts behind what the inspiration of this track is, my friend.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this in tradition of the last session. And how is everyone feeling tonight? Is everyone feeling melancholy, angry, hopeful? How are you all feeling tonight? What do you
Pensive.
You're what?
Pensive.
But think of Morrissey and the Smiths.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna play y'all kind of an older song. This is kind of a puzzle song. Like, I wrote pieces over the course of several years and slowly just kind of like slapped them all together until the song was done. And the song started out being called Nowhere, and just like Sessions, it was like a telephone game and changed and changed and changed. And now it's probably going to have a different name because the lyrics are just completely shifted, but that name is yet to come. So here you go. This is Nowhere, but it's a little more somewhere these days. Can you guys hear that?
Perfect, man.
Oh, yeah. You can hear it really well. You built that for this.
Here we go. So gazing into my eyes, can't you see? I close my eyes and slowly I drift asleep. Close the windows to my soul and I'll dream that I'm running through a hallway through my unfamiliar mind. Follow me back down the rabbit's hole and I'll show you where I've been. Follow me back down that rabbit's hole and I'll show you where I have been. It's nowhere now. Have been is nowhere now. And now I know I have fallen into nowhere, where my dreams now become reality. It will rise, it will rise. So gazing into my eyes, can't you see? I close my eyes and slowly I drift asleep. I close the windows to my soul and I'll dream
mind down on my knees now. I seek the one inside. You feel the hole nowhere. I feel the love alive. I'll steal you know your stairs. If I could take the time to find my way back home. Find my way back home. So gazing into my eyes, can't you see? Close my eyes and slowly I drift asleep.
Life is people, people.